looks like we're all back in. Sorry about that. I missed my visual cue that we were running out of time. So we'll just make this. We'll make this quick, and then we'll talk about lab a little bit for today, and I'll let you go. So yeah, when it comes to the soft drink, that's the main difference. Is you have that you've got the bubbles there. Now, if the whole thing goes flat, then that's different. If the whole thing goes flat, then the bubbles are all gone. What you've got there is a really complex homogeneous mixture. And so one other note that I would want to make is that oftentimes homogeneous mixtures come by another name. It's not uncommon to see homogeneous mixtures also referred to as solutions if they are in the liquid phase, or if they're in the solid phase, especially if they are metals. It's not unheard of to hear them referred to by their metallic name, which is metallic alloy. So when you hear things like stainless steel, brass, galvanized metals, sterling silver, 14 karat gold, these are all metal alloys. These are mixtures of metals that have been melted together to serve some kind of function and purpose. And they are homogeneous mixtures, but they're solid phase mixtures. And they're usually put together by the melting down of the metals or the solids to get them to meld together. But they look completely uniform. So I just wanted to mention that because that usually is a point of confusion. We get into the thought process that homogeneous mixtures have to be liquids. They have to be solutions. Well, the reality is that homogeneous mixtures can come in all three phases. And in fact, you're sitting in one right now. The air that you breathe is a solution. It's a mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and trace amounts of a bunch of other gases. But if you look in the air right now, there is no way that you can possibly tell the nitrogen from the oxygen. And that's what makes it homogeneous.
You said the caffeine was a compound, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So in order, it was homogeneous, heterogeneous, compound element.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's explore one more concept before we put this away for the day. And that is the idea here of the states of matter. And so what are the different states of matter?
Solid, liquid, or gas.
Yeah. But what makes a solid a solid? What makes a liquid a liquid? What makes a gas a gas? If we go down to the molecular level, if we go down to that microscopic scale, what makes one of those different from another?
How the atoms interact with each other.
Okay, that's a good way of putting it. Okay. Anything else?
If they have an indefinite or indefinite shape. A definite shape.
Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in? Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, as far as we can look at this, we can break it down into two main ideas: spacing and interactions. And if we think about it in terms of those two ideas, spacing and interactions, then the majority of what we are looking at can be explained. And these phenomena that we're describing, shape, volume, can be brought out on those ideas. So let's take a look. Now, in the solid phase, and I will tell you, this is somewhat misleading, because the solid phase ordinarily is going to be more compact than the liquid phase is. With water, because of the interactions that exist in water, water does actually have a higher density in its liquid phase than it does in its solid phase. But that's actually rare. It's usually the other way around. But what we can see is that there is a fundamental difference. Even though the liquid is more compacted in water, we can see that the organization is different. With a solid, we can see that the particles are very organized. If you look in the panel drawing here, you can see that all of the water molecules, if you follow them, they all go in a line. They all kind of follow the same exact patterning. Very organized, very structured. And as a result of that structure, we have organization, we have compact interactions, and in the liquid, we also see that it's quite compact, whereas in the gas, very much spread apart. So we usually associate, there's usually a we call liquids and solids, because of their organization and because of their compact nature, these are often referred to as condensed phases. And so if you come across things that talk about condensed phases, that's really what they're talking about. They're talking about the solid and the liquid phase are compacted, they're condensed, they're together. And the molecules are very, very close to each other. And as a result of being very, very close to each other, they're going to have a lot of interactions with each other. And when we get to chapter 6, we'll talk about those interactions and how they exist and what they do. Whereas for the gas, the molecules aren't very close together at all. They're quite disorganized. And for those reasons, we can talk about solids, liquids, and gases in terms of shape and volume. Solids, because they are highly organized and because they are very compact, we're going to have, because of that organization, a definite shape. Because of that compactness, we're going to have a defined volume. Whereas with liquids, we see that because they lacked organization, their shape is going to change. We're going to have liquids changing shape based upon their container. But because they are still compact, they will have a defined volume. And finally, with gases, since they have neither organization nor compactness, they are going to basically take up whatever container they're put in and take it up completely. So no defined shape, no defined volume. The only definition to volume that we can give a gas is how big's the room? How big's the space? And so that's kind of the fundamental differences from the microscopic kind of viewpoint. Now, when it comes to phase changes, there are 6 phase changes, in fact, and we've grouped them together based upon the phase change that's actually taking place. So these 2 here are phase transitions associated with a solid going to a gas and vice versa. These 2 phase changes melting and freezing are associated with solids turning into liquids and vice versa. And then the last one, condensation and vaporization. These are associated with liquids turning into gases and vice versa. So these are the transitions that are possible. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about any of them individually. Just understand that, you know, if we throw out the term sublimation, understand that means that we're talking about a solid turning into a gas. And there are some substances that actually do that. Dry ice is a classic example, where solidified carbon dioxide does not turn into a liquid first. It goes straight to the gas phase when we release it up in normal atmospheric conditions. So that's where we're going to stop with the lecture material for today. If you look, your first 2 post lectures, which are both in Blackboard and both need to be submitted into Gradescope, those are due before class starts tomorrow, so before 9 o'clock. And so if you need help with those, don't hesitate to ask, especially when it comes to the uploading part. If you really get stuck on the uploading, don't be afraid to drop me a line or ask me a question about them. What I want to do now is I'd like to take a second here and just talk a little bit about lab before I let you go for the day. And with regard to the lab, get that up. You'll notice that everything's pretty much the same for the lab. I'm not going to go through all the different outcomes and whatnot. The grading scale is pretty much the same. The breakdown of the grade is pretty close to the same. What I want to point out to you, this is your schedule for the lab. And so what you'll see is that for today there are 2 assignments. Now, none of you have your lab kits yet. So I'm certainly not going to make the measurement and uncertainty lab due tomorrow. I wasn't going to anyway. The way I was going to run the lab here was basically turn Sundays into submission days. And so, keep me updated as far as when you get your material. But the idea of this coming Sunday, what I would like you guys to have done this Sunday at minimum is I need your lab safety contract to be up and into Gradescope. The materials for that are already in Blackboard, as is the quiz. But what I need you to do is there's this lab safety and this dry lab. Both of those are due Sunday night. And if you need a little bit of guidance on those, now those experiments aren't up in Blackboard yet. I need to upload them. I'll do so probably right after we're done with our session here. But what you can see is every single experiment has two components to it. Some have more, but every one of them has at least two components. There is the report itself. The report itself will get submitted into Gradescope. And then there's the quiz, and the quiz will be done in Blackboard. And so the lab safety quiz, again, it's already in there. The these other quizzes will be going in soon and shortly. But what this will look like is if I can show you Blackboard here. Let me get that going. Can you see my Blackboard now?
Not yet.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so if you look at the lab, now where you're going to find the majority of the stuff that you're interested in, that you're going to actually use. Oops, wrong one. Okay, here it is. Okay, so there's the syllabus in all its glory for you if you need it. It's always there. Where you're going to look is here in lab activities. You're going to see every single lab activity has its own folder here. Now, right now, because I haven't uploaded everything yet, a lot of these are empty. But the ones that you need for the next couple of days will have something in them by noon. The lab safety one here, you can see we've got a couple of things. First of all, you've got a lab safety video, which is just, this is something I pulled off of YouTube. I use it in all of my classes. It's great in terms of just general safety protocols. Now, since you're going to be doing these at your house instead of in a laboratory, some of this stuff isn't going to actually make as much sense, which is why I've also attached the safety manual from Carolina. It's right here, and you can download that or view it in your browser. What you need to do for the 10 points for today is read through the manual, and then you're going to sign out this contract. And all you have to do is either print this and post it, or just type in here that you have gone through the safety materials, you've covered any questions that you had, you understand that there are going to be some risks involved with doing some labs in your house, and that you're fully aware of all of those risks. So put your name here digitally, or print it out and sign it here. And then if you're going to submit this electronically, so let's say that you're going to put in your name and okay, I'm putting in my stuff here, and I'm going to sign electronically. When I go to save, I'm gonna hit save as. And I'm going to save this as a PDF document. Now, depending upon your version of Word, in mine, can you see my dialog box here?
No, it's not showing it.
Okay. You still just see the safety contract?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm on a Mac. PDF is one of the options in the drop-down menu when you choose the file format.
Yeah.
If you're on a PC, I think it's file then export to make it a PDF. But that's what you'll upload to Gradescope. Gradescope does not do Word documents, but it does do PDFs, and it does do pictures. So you can upload either way. But all you would need to do is you click on the safety contract, and you'd be able to see your name here and submit that way. And if you go to my YouTube channel, there's another video on there about how to upload submissions into Gradescope. And I'll send everybody that link when we're done here, just so you have it in case there's any confusion. But that's this first one. Now, as far as the quiz is concerned, go to the area called Lab Quizzes, and you'll see there's the safety quiz right there. There will be a quiz for every single lab where there's a marking for quizzes. I know that sounds a little bit convoluted, but if you look here, you can see that most of the early labs have quizzes. There are a couple here that do not. So, for example, graphical representation of data, which is our second graphing lab, our slightly more advanced graphing lab, that one doesn't have a quiz for it. Primary reason is I've already quizzed you on the material in this lab right here. It's all elemental doesn't have a quiz. The municipal water lab doesn't have a quiz. None of your skill builders have quizzes. So that's kind of what's coming up. And so, as far as the due dates are concerned, we'll kind of play it by ear. The initial plan, at least, is that we're just going to have Sundays be kind of dump days where we have all things due. And so the first Sunday dump day will be this Sunday, and you'll have to have the safety contract, which, as I just showed you, probably won't take more than 15 minutes of your time to go through and read the material and sign it and upload to Gradescope. And the first dry lab, the first graphing lab, will be due Sunday as well. And the quizzes for those will be due Sunday night as well. And then, hopefully we'll be everybody will have their lab kits next week, and you can do the exploring density and the measurement uncertainty labs for next Sunday's submission. Like I said, we'll just kind of play those on by ear over time, because actually, if you look at next week, starting on the 1st, Faster Plop Plop Fizz Fizz is a wet lab. It's in your lab kit. but the rest of the labs that week are all simulation or dry labs. So, I did try to build in a little bit of lead time here. Now, for the ones that are formal lab reports, so next Tuesday, there's a simulation of an empirical formula and a formal lab report. I'll give you a little bit more information about what I want out of those lab reports at the time. But if you read through the syllabus, you'll see I give you each a rough draft opportunity. You get 10 points just for completing the rough draft. And I give you some feedback. I tell you how to improve it, and you take it from there. Now, in addition to that, you'll also see that there's a grade scope submission in addition to the rough draft. And that's basically, that's there for me to see your data, to see your calculations ahead of time, and to give you feedback on, hey, you did this part incorrectly. That's going to affect your calculations. Why don't you look at this? And that's going to save you a lot of anxiety and a lot of points in the writing phase. So you can see that for the ones where you have written assignments, I usually give you some of that feedback like that as you work with each other on those, as you kind of work through those yourselves. Couple of other things of note. We will not be having any lab at all on the 10th. That's a Wednesday. And that's because I am giving you an exam on that day. And pretty much we're not going to do the lecture. We're not going to do the exam during lecture time. We're going to have actual lecture during that time. So I'm basically giving you the lab time. I'm giving you the rest of the afternoon to work on the exam because it's a take-home exam. I'm not doing something similar for chapter 2, but or for exam 2, and exam 3 is actually going to be during class time. We're not going to have lecture at all on that day. But just I'm trying to give you a little bit of insight into how this is put together and what kinds of things need to be done. Any questions about what the expectations are or what you need to do as far as this week is concerned?
Yes, so okay, so now you can hear me. About the kit. Okay, when I went online and I went on the site, it said like the $50 one is required. Where do I go for the $250 one? Like, do I call the bookstore and then do curbside?
No. So
Or who prepares the kit? Like, where is the kit?
the kit is the bookstore does not have physical kits.
Okay.
What they sell you is a voucher and instructions. And so you buy the voucher,
Mm-hmm.
you take the voucher and you go to the Carolina Distance Learning website,
Okay.
and they will the voucher pays for shipping and everything else. So basically all that's taken care of. You give them you give Carolina your voucher number, they send you the kit.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
So,
really I need to go to the bookstore and pick up the voucher.
now, like I said, were you looking? Let me flip over here again.
Oh no, I didn't. Mm-mm.
Okay, so what you need to do is if you look for the course here on the bookstore's website,
Mm-hmm.
these are the things that I have selected. There's no $50 bundle here. I'm not sure exactly what
Okay.
you're looking at.
I had went on the actual website, like the actual Carolina.
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
Okay.
Go to Old Post. Go to
Mm,
their website, vubookstore.venue.edu,
okay.
and this is where you can get all of the materials. And so, um,
Just
like
select.
like I said, the things that you need, I would strongly suggest getting the lecture packet if you like writing down your notes, or if you like having paper copies of things. It's 1835.
Okay.
I would get it if it was me, because I like having the. I don't like just looking at a computer screen to study. Um, so that's what I would do. Um, I would not get the calculator if I could get it somewhere else cheaper.
Okay.
Now, if you want the convenience of just, I just go to the bookstore and I just scoop up all my materials, that's fine. As far as this is concerned, the textbook, whether you get it or not is completely up to you.
Well, I gotta do the website, the website you gave us with the
So
book.
it's
Yeah.
so this is the place, digital.wwnorton.com
Yep.
/Adams2.
Right.
Okay, and the announcement I sent last night gives you specific instructions to how to get to our classes page.
Yep. I'm on it.
Um,
Yep.
so that's what I would do. Bare minimum, you need the access code. The access code is $35. If you want the ebook associated with it, I think it's $72.
Yeah. It.
Um, but that gets you 2-year access to the ebook and 2-year access to smart work, which if you're taking our Chem 106 class, I would advise you in that direction, since none of you are
Yeah.
actually BU students and none of you are enrolled in my Chem 106 class that starts in July, because none of you are local. I would be pushing you in that direction. Hey, just take Chem 2 with me. We'll get it all done in one pop.
I didn't know you teach Chem 2. I have to take Chem 2. I didn't know that you would. I have to. They told me it was on campus, so yes, I'll be on campus.
Well, it is on campus.
Okay.
It will not be, unless something changes, it will not be remote. It will be on campus.
The chemical
But
calculator, is it for the lab kit?
the Chem calculator here,
Yeah.
that's the scientific calculator I was talking about.
Oh, I got
Um,
one. Yeah. If you
so
have one.
if you already have a scientific calculator, you're set. The
Oh, okay.
reason I put that on there is some of our students don't have a scientific calculator, and this gives them the option to buy one, so
Okay.
that especially come test time, we're not confiscating your calculator and you got to do all the calculations by hand. That's
Okay.
just ridiculous. But no, what you would need to do is, okay, I want the lecture packet, hit add to cart. I want the lab kit, add to cart,
Mhm.
and then go through the continue checkout process, and it'll take you through the rest of it.
Okay.
In terms of, do you want it shipped to your house? I mean, I don't know where you live, but if you're, I know they
Indian.
do have, I do know,
It's
I know they have some sort of pickup option if you're local, or reasonably local.
okay.
If what Malaz, were you telling me you're from Fort Wayne?
Yeah, I'm from Fort Wayne.
Yeah, so I mean, like that's completely, you had everything shipped to you. But if you're from the area, I know that the bookstore is doing some sort of drop off pickup option, so that you didn't have to wait for them to ship it to you. But that's completely up to you. But
Okay.
I would suggest you got to get in and do this stuff quickly, because the longer you wait, the more that the other stuff is gonna pile up in terms of the labs that you have to do.
Okay.
And even though next week is mostly a dry lab week, you still don't want to have to do 4 wet labs in a 2-day period, unless you just had to. So get that taken care of as soon as you can.
Okay.
And like I said, if you are local and you are looking at needing Chem 2, I am teaching starting on July 6th, Chem 2, and at least for now, it's going to be on campus. So again, if you're local, that's great. I'd love to have you. If you're not, I don't see a remote option coming about unless things really drastically change in terms of our on-campus philosophy. So any other questions about lab or about anything else? We've got about 3.5 minutes.
Just real quick, just to confirm, we're going to be working on these solo. This is not going to be in groups or anything. As far as the reports go,
it is going to be solo. You're going to be expected to turn in all of your own work.
Okay.
Now there are going to be a couple of occasions. The skill builders, for example, it's all elemental lab, where if you want to set up a time where you 3 can work together, or you and a partner can work together virtually, I'm completely okay with that, because those are designed to be peer oriented. Those are designed to be where you work together to solve problems. And if you want to do that, I'm not going to stop you from doing that. Okay. But for the majority of them, yes, they're individual experiments, and there's really no good way that you could do them together anyway. But yeah, for the skill builders, which are designed to be, people working through them together, talking to each other. And if you want help facilitating that kind of stuff, I can certainly help facilitate that, as far as, teaching you how to set up a video chat on Collaborator or in Blackboard or anything like that. Or if you want me to get involved in that, just to kind of be a facilitator there as well. So I'll leave that up to you. We can kind of cross that bridge when we come to it. But the majority of those will be, yes, you'll turn them in by yourselves, and yes, you will. You'll do all the work yourselves individually.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, so my next interaction with you, and this will be an optional. Office hours are optional. You do not have to come, but will be 3 o'clock via Collaborate. I will send a message out via Remind to let you know how to access that if you're interested in coming. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Have a good day.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.